I've got to say, I genuinely feel sorry for this guy. It seems like Mike Israetel might actually be insane. He fantasizes about crippling people who leave mean comments on his videos. He's taken so many steroids that he admits they've made him dumber and filled his head with violent thoughts he calls unspeakable. He's had chunks of his body surgically removed in procedures so brutal he bled through a hotel bed for days, and he wants to break his own ribs inward to make his waist smaller.
A comment on social media directed at me, I guess about me, and I begin to fantasize about what it would be like and how much sublime pleasure I would receive in hurting that person at a deep physical and emotional level, hurting them in such a way that they're never going to walk right again and they're always going to remember me and how they dared to cross me.
This isn't some cautionary tale about a fitness influencer who crashed and burned. Mike Israetel is thriving. Multiple sponsorships, millions of subscribers, online coaching programs, diet apps, books. The guy who looks like a walking, talking penis is doing better than ever. And that's what makes this so disturbing. Because the more successful he gets, the more unhinged he becomes, and he's documenting all of it. Mike Israetel has been flooding everyone's algorithm for years with fitness tips and bodybuilding critiques. You've seen his videos, Renaissance periodization, almost 4 million subscribers, nearly 2 billion views across 3,500 videos over 13 years. He debunks bro science, roasts celebrity workout routines, and positions himself as the evidence-based fitness authority. But this guy is profoundly weird. The more you learn about him, the more you wish you didn't know. So naturally, I had to make a video about it. Here's the thing that makes Mike different from every other fitness influencer. He's excessively transparent. And if you think about the biggest criticism of fitness celebrities these days, it's that they hide everything from their fans. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson went on a full publicity campaign to hide decades of steroid abuse. Liver King got exposed by Derek for more plates, more dates on Joe Rogan's podcast, and his entire empire collapsed overnight. Fake natty controversies dominate this space. There's nothing worse than a genetically gifted millionaire with a private chef and social media team lecturing regular people about hard work and authenticity while being jacked up on a cocktail of anabolic steroids. Mike's different. He tells you everything. Every drug he takes, every side effect he experiences, every violent thought that crosses his mind. The irony is that his transparency comes off as even more narcissistic than the guys who lie. When you first start watching his content, he seems pretty humble. Calls it like it is, no bullshit. Then he keeps talking, and slowly it dawns on you that you're watching a complete psychopath. Oh, and he's also a jiu-jitsu black belt. Small man syndrome stacked with mommy issues, daddy issues, body dysmorphia, narcissism, and the Dunning-Kruger effect all wrapped into one 5'6" package.
No one in their right mind would at this point be like, this guy is below average intelligence. That would be preposterous to say. I've taken the Ravens Advanced Progressive Matrices test, and I pegged at scale high. So you get every single question right. And so my IQ is above 160. We don't know how high because they don't do standardized IQ tests above that.
He was too smart for the IQ test. This is the trend with these guys. They reach the age of 15 and just stop maturing. Grown men trying to convince everyone they're the smartest guys in the room while taking fistfuls of steroids because they've got a psychological complex over being 5 feet 6 inches. But here's where the mask slips completely. Mike admits to everything about his steroid use. Unlike the fake natties, he doesn't hide it. He lists every side effect, every health risk, every consequence. Then he does it anyway.
Did you take steroids?
Mm-hmm.
What is the impact? So say if you weren't taking steroids, how different would you look?
We're talking about 30, 40 pounds of muscle tissue difference between steroids and not steroids.
Sounds exciting, but there's always a downside for these things in life, isn't there?
There are a few downsides, yes. So there's cosmetic downsides. You get an increase in body hair growth. I have hair that grows on my ears. I have hair that grows on the outside of my nose. I have to shave the front of my nose. Now, a lot of that's just being a Russian Jew, and his hair just grows out of our eyeballs, but shit happens. You get pimples, you get stuff like that. Substantially increased risk of heart disease. If you're smart, you take blood pressure drugs to counteract the blood pressure increase. If you're dumb, you take it on the chin, and you have a high probability, much higher, of kidney failure later in your life and losing your limbs and your vision and all that good stuff that comes with that. There is an increased probability or severity of cancer. Steroids increase the probability of damn near every disease, kind of central systemic disease that you can have. And a lot of the other side effects are increases in anxiety, increases in aggression, increases in disagreeableness and probability of confrontation. Steroids have been shown decently well, this isn't super confirmed, to at least proximately, while you're taking them, substantially reduce your fluid intelligence. And they may, in the long term, reduce your overall intelligence, but it seems that if you stop taking them, you get most, if not all of that back, but maybe not all of it. So they do make you dumber. As a general heuristic, that's probably true.
He just listed every horrific consequence. Hair growing out of his eyeballs, kidney failure, losing limbs and vision, cancer, brain damage. And his conclusion is that it's worth it, because it makes him look big. Mike thinks that by being open about the dangers, he doesn't look like a hypocrite. But it gets so much worse. When you dig into why he actually takes steroids, it has nothing to do with performance, it's pure ego.
One of the reasons that I started steroids is I was drug-free for a long time, and I was starting to become a kind of an educator in fitness and a promulgator of opinion. But back when Nick and I came up, to be relevant in the fitness industry, you sort of had to be like super jacked and super lean. It's nothing we were going to accomplish drug-free. So we were like, oh, this is where the road leads to being taken seriously as a thinker in the space. Let's do it. Another thing is I really like being, or at least for a long time, liked being enormous and ripped.
Why?
And, you ever see how a 4-year-old looks at like a garbage truck or a tank or an airplane? Like, just that.
Why?
It's as simple as that. Biology. And I'm at the extreme end of masculinity brain-wise to begin with. And so you see a movie where like the Hulk rips off an airplane wing and throws it. Some people will be like, whoa. Some people are like, ugh, I hate this movie. And some people are like, oh my God, I want to just be that whole thing.
Why?
I want that. It just feels.
That's straight up small man syndrome. He was bullied as a kid and it broke something inside him. So now he's chemically altering his brain and destroying his organs because he wants to look like the Hulk. The thing is, Mike isn't even a professional bodybuilder. He never got his pro card despite all his sports science knowledge and his supposed 160 plus IQ, and the reason is simple. He's 5 feet 6 inches with a long torso and short limbs. His proportions are all wrong for competitive bodybuilding. You can't make your arms and legs longer. You can't shorten your torso. You can't grow taller. Genetics matter in bodybuilding more than almost any other sport. Mike knows this. He's the sports science expert, but he refuses to accept it. So instead of coming to terms with his genetic limitations, he's taken a darker path. And the side effects are eating him alive.
What have you suffered with the most?
Decrease in fluid intelligence, for sure. Radical increases in anxiety. Radical increases in aggression. I pride myself on never losing my cool. I've never screamed at anyone. I've never gotten physical with anyone. But the ideas in my head that tell me to do things tell me to do unspeakable things.
Like what?
They're unspeakable. I'd have to speak them. You really want to know?
Mm-hmm.
I'm also fucking weird, so just remember that.
No, we're all a bit weird.
Most people probably don't have this severity, but I'll read a comment on social media directed at me, I guess, about me. And it's from like, nameless, faceless profile. And I begin to fantasize about what it would be like and how much sublime pleasure I would receive in hurting that person at a deep physical and emotional level. Do you know what honor culture is?
No.
Like the idea that like in the hood, you step on someone's like a gang member's Nikes and he just blasts you away and goes to jail for 20 years. Over what? Steroids, the honor culture comes from maleness. It comes from testosterone and other brain structures, of course, but the more testosterone, and steroids are all testosterone-like molecules, if you have 10 times the testosterone-like action affecting your brain, your proclivity to falling into honor culture-like behavioral patterns and thought patterns increases to an enormous extent.
This guy thinks his YouTube comment section is the hood. He's fantasizing about permanently crippling strangers because they left a mean comment, and he's admitting this on camera with a straight face, like it's a normal thing that happens to people. This is someone who's taken so many steroids that his brain doesn't work right anymore, and he knows it. He just listed it as a side effect, but he keeps going because looking big is more important than being sane. And if you think the steroid abuse is bad, wait until you hear about his credentials. Mike likes to call himself Dr. Mike, not to be confused with the actual Dr. Mike, who's supposedly his friend and has done one of the best jobs calling out his bullshit Little Mike calls himself Dr. Mike because he completed a PhD in sports physiology in 2013 from East Tennessee State University. His dissertation was titled The Interrelationships of Fitness Characteristics in Division I Athletes, where he concluded that leaner and more muscular athletes perform better groundbreaking stuff. Except recently, when people actually analyzed his dissertation, they found some problems. Turns out Little Mike isn't as smart as he thinks he is. The thesis is full of impossible and contradictory data, inflated with jargon and riddled with hundreds of basic grammatical, typographical, and formatting errors. And as usual, the cover-up ended up being worse than the crime. Instead of just admitting he fucked up, instead of saying maybe he had an inflated sense of his own intelligence and academic abilities, he came up with the perfect excuse.
No, Solomon was looking at an accidentally uploaded incorrect rough draft. So I'll say this, I don't blame him for going hard on it because he has every reasonable idea to think this was the final draft. It wasn't. We have the final draft now in the link here. And so most of his critiques are just non-starters because the final just doesn't have most of those problems.
Of course, his critics were reviewing the wrong version. Why would a university upload the final version of a thesis? They thought it would be more accurate to post a random draft they found lying around. Makes perfect sense. It gets worse. Once the cat was out of the bag and Mike went into damage control, people started digging deeper. They discovered he'd immediately restricted access to his thesis. Then they saw edits made to the portal in early October of this year. He re-edited his PhD thesis 12 years after submitting it, then re-uploaded it, pretending the university simply had the wrong version. That's elite-level revisionist history. Why not just say the thesis sucked, it was 12 years ago, you were lazy, but you've grown since then? Because that would require humility, and we're talking about a guy who's one YouTube comment away from snapping. This is someone who built his entire authority on being the evidence-based sports science expert. His PhD gives him legitimacy in a space full of frauds, and when that legitimacy got questioned, he couldn't handle it, so he tried to rewrite history, just like he's trying to rewrite his body, and that's where things get truly disturbing. Mike takes the idea of body sculpting a little too literally. He's had cosmetic surgeries, multiple procedures, and he's planning more, a lot more.
Why did you get plastic surgery?
A huge limiting factor of mine was that I just had love handles, and when they weren't filled with fat anymore, they were filled with water, and then they just looked like shit all the time. And I was like, this, I can just get them cut out. So I did. It really just goes about that deep.
How did that go?
I woke up and I was just like, oh, what the hell happened to me? And I mean, there was so blood just keeps coming out of the area and all kinds of crazy drainage for days. We had a hospital bed, a hotel room bed that was covered in just in World War III. What they did was he cut a 270-degree incision from my hips all the way back around my back, and then did two roughly 6-inch vertical incisions kind of in the love handle area, side/back. And then pulled a crap load of skin out of that, did a bunch of liposuction, and then sucked it all back in, etc.
Hold on. Why was he recovering in a hotel room? This guy is rich. Why didn't the hospital keep him until he stopped bleeding? He was bleeding in a hotel bed. He said when he got into the Uber from the hospital to the hotel, he covered the back seat in blood as well. This guy is getting completely unnecessary cosmetic surgeries and then going around in public bleeding everywhere. Imagine clocking in for your shift at the hotel, walking into a room and seeing blood and human waste everywhere. It would look like a crime scene. And you know he didn't tip that Uber driver for ruining his back seat. But the surgery itself doesn't add up. People on social media kept telling him he didn't have love handles, he didn't have lower back fat. They said he was delusional. And Mike's response was to post before and after photos proving that he did have loose skin. Except the photos show someone who could have just lost a few pounds. Nothing that required major surgery. Women get breast implants, nose jobs, butt implants, lipo, injectables. Men do it too. Mike's not the only one. But here's the difference. Mike built his entire public image off being the sports science guru who promotes evidence-based health and fitness. None of this has anything to do with health or fitness. It's vanity and ego. And he's not even a pro bodybuilder. He retired from bodybuilding last year to focus on his online fitness business. He's not placing top 10 at Mr. Olympia. He's not even in the conversation. This is purely about his psychological need to look a certain way, and it's not over.
I will be going through surgery again, probably at least a few more times.
Why?
To enhance my physique even further.
To do what?
So I have at least two ideas. One is I have some loose skin and extra fat cells around my lower chest area. and some cases around my back. And those can actually be kind of furrowed out with surgery, much less invasive. So I have this thing where no matter what body fat I have, and there's tons of YouTube videos of me doing this, I have a big gut, just plain old. And I can even suck in and do the vacuum pose, or my waist looks super tiny, and then I just go back to regular, and there's just gut that just comes out. And my parents both have it. It's just like pot belly. And it's really just a genetic laxity of the abdominal wall. It has nothing to do with muscle strength and none of that shit. They basically plicate. You know what plicating is? They pull your muscles in kind of to each other and kind of stitch them together. And so you can plicate the obliques, you can plicate the rectus abdominis, and it brings your waist in. And just in case you were ever going to blow that out, and it kind of resorbs after a little while, you get a polymer sheath installed around your entire, like a corset sheath, plastic sheath, internal installed, and then it constantly keeps your waist to the size that most people of my leanness have, but I don't, because I just have the flabby gut situation. I have been thinking about potentially going to that next level of surgery and getting my 2 bottom ribs broken inwards to have an even cooler, even smaller waist. Because hip-wise, and some of my bodybuilding photos show this off, genetically I have a very small waist structurally. The love handles are done. That's cool. Now the gut's kind of hanging out, and I'm like, I could really like stand to get this smaller. And so I think small waists look in a way that I really fucking like. I'd like to have a small waist, not just small. Ideally, I'd like to have a tiny waist. I think it's magical, and I would like to have that look. That surgery is really fucking intense.
He wants to break his ribs. He wants to have a permanent plastic corset installed inside his body. He wants surgeons to stitch his abdominal muscles together so his waist looks smaller, and he described having a tiny waist as magical with the most unsettling energy imaginable. This isn't bodybuilding. This is body dysmorphia with a scalpel. Mike is planning to mutilate his skeleton because he can't accept his genetic structure, and he's being completely transparent about it. Like, that makes it okay. It's hard to hate on someone being this open and honest. It's his body, his money, his life. Who cares what he does? But then you remember, this is the self-appointed sports science guru. He's made millions coaching clients and making evidence-based videos promoting health and fitness, and then he goes and does this. And here's the most disturbing part. Mike admits he doesn't follow his own advice. He built a health and fitness empire while actively destroying his body, and when confronted about it, he doesn't even flinch.
You decide to go down one of these paths that's obviously risk-benefit, more risky for your health, less health benefit, and more for the aesthetic. Like, how do you decide which 3 buckets lead your decision, where you put your emphasis?
I'm really risk-averse in very many aspects of my life, but not risk-averse in some other aspects of my life. And for me, my journey in modifying my own body and learning about that through this aesthetic process is quite important. Another one is social perception. It's been fascinating to see how some people react to, because I've been very public about get the surgery. I'll be super public with all the other ones in the future. And it's just been ultra fascinating to see how people react to that sort of thing.
So part of your drive for wanting to get the surgeries is to see public perception of what it's like to get the surgery? Mm-hmm. That's interesting.
Yeah, just part of it though. But most of it is just like, at the end of the day, I want to look like my vision of what a cool physique looks like.
Even if it means being less healthy.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, I already did that with steroids, so no surprise. Yes.
Well, that's the thing. Like, your Renaissance periodization is a way for people to get healthy, and you're doing a lot of things that make you unhealthy. Mm-hmm. How does that vibe?
One of those is a company in which I help others. And the other thing is just me and what I do with myself.
He just admitted it, with the straightest face you've ever seen. One set of rules for his clients, another set for himself. His company helps others get healthy. What he does to his own body is separate. That's borderline sociopathic behavior. And this is what people miss about Mike Israetel. At the beginning of this video, I said he takes transparency to a whole new level. Compared to The Rock, who hides decades of steroid abuse, or Chris Hemsworth with his paid fitness app built on unattainable genetics, Mike looks like the good guy. He's honest about everything he does to his body. He's clear about the negative side effects. He's prepared to accept them purely for the short-term benefit of looking jacked to impress teenage boys on the internet. But the mistake people make is assuming it comes from humility. It doesn't. Mike Israetel is the biggest narcissist in the fitness industry. He's not humble. He's addicted to oversharing. He needs to be the center of attention, and he figured out he could build an audience by telling the truth. His transparency isn't a virtue, it's a strategy. If you go to a party and one guy gets up and says everyone sucks and walks out, you can't help but admire that guy. But if you watch enough of Mike's videos and interviews, you realize you're witnessing a grown man on the verge of completely snapping someone who's chemically altered his brain to the point where he fantasizes about crippling strangers. Someone who's planning to break his own ribs because he can't accept his bone structure. Someone who re-edited his PhD thesis 12 years after the fact because he couldn't handle criticism. We've seen what happens to guys like Liver King and Wes Watson when they're under pressure. They crumble and crash out. Mike is still stable right now because he's relevant and getting attention that feeds his ego. But once things slow down, once the attention dries up, the cracks will start to appear. We've seen it happen time and again. Content creators and streamers go to extreme measures when they're falling off.
If I was getting robbed by someone at knife point, or not even knife point, just a guy, try to be like, hey man, get out of my way. No, I'm gonna die here before I move out of your way. You're either gonna treat me with respect, or one of us is either going to jail, or the morgue, or the hospital.
Mike's already told us what happens when his ego gets bruised. He fantasizes about hurting people, and he's a jutsu black belt pumped full of testosterone and steroids that he admits have made him dumber and more aggressive. So what happens when the algorithm stops favoring him? When his videos stop getting views? When the comments section turns on him completely? When his surgeries go wrong and he doesn't look the way he wants anymore? Mike Israetel isn't brave for being honest. He's a narcissist who found a new way to demand attention by turning his self-destruction into content. The transparency isn't humility. It's a cry for validation from a man chemically altering his brain while mutilating his body, all because he was bullied as a kid and can't grow past 5 feet 6 inches. His honesty is the most manipulative thing about him, because it tricks people into thinking he's self-aware. He's not. He's spiraling, and he's documenting every second of it. When the views stop coming, when the audience moves on, we'll see what a jiu-jitsu black belt with roid rage and nothing left to lose actually does. Hopefully he doesn't hurt anyone who gets in his way and bruises his ego. Not going to lie though, watching him do jiu-jitsu is funny as Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss future uploads.